Hello, thanks for listening to the FLP, the Finance Leadership Podcast. It's your fortnightly focus on the latest information and news about the Finance Leadership Programme pathway to your CGMA qualification. It's produced by AICPA and CIMA, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. You can find out more at aicpa.org and cimaglobal.com. I'm Kevin Gormley, and I'm based in Northern Ireland, but I'm speaking to a colleague today out on the east coast of the US. Barry Payne is joining us today, and we're delighted to have him. This week's episode focuses on the future of finance and the skills needed with the future of accounting and finance. So welcome, Barry. Thanks for joining us today. I was wondering if you could just introduce yourself and what you do at the association.
Sure. Well, it's lovely to join you, Kevin, and lovely to join the listeners. I'm Barry. I lead external relations for AICPA and CIMA in the Americas in the management accounting space. My role, and I guess my objective in life, is to create as much value as I possibly can for our membership and organizations that employ our members in the corporate finance and management accounting space as I can. I am a Brit. I am not an American, which I think Kevin is abundantly clear. So I come from the UK originally. I've lived in the States before. I relocated again, delayed mine in August of this year due to obviously travel restrictions with the pandemic, and I'm delighted to be back in the market that I serve.
Great, thanks, Barry. We're talking about future of finance, a term often muted around the association and wider within the accounting and finance world. Could you maybe just give us a bit of insight how you see it and what it means to you and the US market?
Yes, I mean, if I take you back about 18 months ago, my colleague Tom Hood and I decided that we needed a much clearer and better connection with our members in the corporate finance and accounting space. So we rung up a bunch of CFOs, controllers, senior finance folk within brand name companies, and we just simply asked the question, what's on your mind? You know, what are the challenges that you see? And they were very enriching conversations. If you remember, a year to 18 months ago was, dare I say, even more uncertain than it is right now. And they really opened up to us, and they were very, very gracious in giving back feedback, not only about their own organization, but about how we can be stronger as a profession to serve them. But the issue was that we were just having one-on-one conversations. So we came up with this idea of, well, why can't we convene all of these finance leaders together and create a movement which will help us chart the future course of the value of the CFO and the future course of our profession in this space. And we called that group the Future of Finance Group. And over the last 12 to 18 months, we've done so much with that group. We have an advisory group we set up to provide us with the agenda for our Future of Finance initiative. And, I was just looking at some of the participants on that group include companies like Nike, Kimberly-Clark, Stanley Black & Decker, Yelp, IBM, really, really great brand names. And they've worked with us on a series of events, including face-to-face events and summits, rounded off by a summit that we're actually going to be having in December in Austin, Texas. And the subjects and topics are very much around, what's keeping them up at the moment. And besides the economic challenges, the inflation challenges that we're all facing, the clear constant over the last 18 months has been the ability and the challenge to find and retain the best talent that you can.
It's a common theme, Barry, around talent retention specifically, and even in the market I have worked in the UK and Ireland, there are huge deficits of accountants with the right skill sets. So it's, it is a global problem, and obviously the skill sets needed for modern business are changing all the time. But from your US experience, what would be the key takeaways, the things that professionals are telling you that they really need right now?
Well, it's interesting because finding and retaining talent means different things to different people. But when you boil it down, there's a confluence of different things going on. For example, how do we deal with development of folks and relationships within a hybrid style environment? How do we identify the need for enhanced and new competencies as we grow the value and productivity of our financing function? How does that then relate to the accelerated digital transformation and moving up the value curve in terms of the advice and the support that we provide as a finance and accounting service? How do CFOs, chief accounting officers and the like claim a leadership responsibility and role with some of the emerging trends? I'm talking of things like the environmental social governance agenda. I'm talking about things like supply chain. I'm talking about also challenging us on the diversity and the inclusion of our teams. All of these things are top of mind for the leaders. But we did spend a lot of time in these Future of Finance events talking specifically about what new and enhanced competencies mean. And that was a very interesting conversation that we had.
And those conversations, Barry, if they were to list the top 5, top 10 skill sets needed right now, did you come down to a list, or was it general groupings, or what was the outcome?
Well, we always like a list and a checklist of sorts. But one thing I would say is, yes, we have, but we also poll our leaders on a regular basis. So we've kind of got an amalgam of the ones that are really important. But along with a list, we actually wanted to create a visual or a framework to think about skills development, because it all needs to be taken in the round. And we came up with this concept of the T-shaped finance and accounting professional based off of our research and based off of the insights that were provided by the group. And if you think that the stumpy vertical part of the T is quite small, but it's incredibly important, and the skill sets in those, if they didn't exist, then the whole thing will fall apart. So the key skills in demand are continuous technical excellence, that doesn't go away, functional excellence, but also a really, really important and rising level of technology and digital savviness to work in the modern digital environment. There needs to be a baseline there for everyone. People call them the table stakes, but that's basically the vertical part of the T. But it's really the more wide, broad part of the T. If you think, and I'm thinking of the capital T here, those wide skills in the T that are the game changers. Things like strategic and critical thinking. Critical thinking has never been more important than now. I think if I had $1 or £1 or €1 for every CFO that told me that storytelling was important, I'd be incredibly rich. And what they mean by that is the ability to take vast amounts of data, join the dots, and come up with a compelling message that someone can act and make a decision upon quickly, as well as having the ethics, the integrity, and the professionalism just to step back and ask the right questions. So you've got strategic critical thinking, you've got storytelling, you've got data analytics and deepening role in that space. You've got serving evolving needs and anticipating decisions going down the road. And you've got to have an agile mindset. I know that there's agile principles out there, and it's kind of speaking to that, but it's also speaking to the fact that a lot of organizations with their finance and accounting folk are actually training and developing people based on portfolio of skills and competencies, and not so much about the hard and fast job that they do on a day-to-day basis. So if they're going to kind of ramp up a particular area of the business and they need support, then you've got a mindset and you've got an agile set of skills to be able to take advantage of that mobility, advantage of that area. So agile's come up, and that's really the boundary crossing part of the T. Those are I think the enabling skills that are more in demand than they've ever been before.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're layering like a wider skill set on top of your traditional accounting expertise to make this a really well-rounded professional in the space. And it's funny that the research just reinforces the message around our competency framework in terms of the 5 core competencies we have, with leadership, technical, business skills, people skills, and core digital skills. So you're really creating a proper, fully rounded business professional. And how would people acquire these skills? Or what are you telling these professionals that you're meeting?
One of the things that we've been able to take to market very successfully is the route to the CGMA, the Chartered Global Management Accountant. The Finance Leadership Programme has been launched all around the world, which is our new digital platform to become a CGMA. But members of the audience that have the history that I have may recall that we actually first launched this digital pathway in the United States. And it's been really, really good to work with organizations on thinking, okay, well, you've got a talent pool within your organization that really you want to invest in to develop those amalgam of skills, which are typified, Kevin, as you say, by our own CGMA competency framework. And we've worked with a huge number of organizations to do that. And what they say to me that they really enjoy out of the program, but also what individual participants enjoy out of the program, is actually, first and foremost, the learning journey. So what's very interesting in the United States, although this is obviously based on the CIMA professional qualification, the emphasis on actually taking the exam is less than actually enjoying the learning journey itself. And the learning journey is iterative because it's competency-based, because it's effectively scenario-based throughout the learning. It's almost by the time you get to the case study exam, you've built up such a mindset and a muscle to be able to deal with a case study that it almost feels a little bit less threatening in a sense as an exam. So they love the competency-based real-world nature, the ability to apply things in the context of your workplace straight away, as opposed to waiting to complete an exam. I think the digital-based nature of the program, Kevin, is a game changer. The ability to work flexibly in your own time, and also to tailor your learning journey depending on what you're doing at the time, making the Finance Leadership Programme platform work for you, making sure that you get the right skills at the right time. Organizations love that level of flexibility, and so do participants too. And I think it's the package of skills, because coming back to the TShaped Finance professional, if you and the audience visualize that and our own competency framework, it's very much about synthesizing and integrating skill sets for practical outcomes and insights. So whilst you get all of the technical content that you need in all of those areas and pillars, as you say, the technical, the business, the people, the leadership, and then anchored by the digital, the way that it brings it all together is absolutely key. So you're coming out very much with a business focus of how you can adopt and leverage tool sets in an integrated and synthesized way. And I think that's really what sets really great business partners out from others. And I mean, I deal like you do with people that have done this on a daily basis, Kevin, and I'm astounded by some of the stories I hear of how they've been able to turn projects around, drive insights, better critical thinking, better relationships with their business partners, ultimately greater career mobility and agility that I said earlier on. So we've had some success in the United States market. We've worked with some really good organizations like the likes of IBM, the likes of Haynes brands. If, Kevin, you've got a champion sweaty or a t-shirt, that's them lot. The reinsurance company, Swiss Re, even in the Bay Area, Yelp. So yeah, we brought that skill set over to the US, and companies and individuals are really warming and benefiting from it.
Great to see such brands adopting these skill sets, because they're obviously so fundamentally important to businesses. So obviously the outside world looking in at accountancy thinks all we do is look at spreadsheets and deal with financial statements all day, but it couldn't be further from the truth in most instances, where lots of accountants these days are making major decisions and really don't get into actual reporting that much, particularly in the management space. So yeah, no, great to see the successes you've had, and to develop and build on that success. I know you're looking at apprenticeships in the US. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it comes back, first of all, to that critical issue of finding and retaining talent. There's just not enough out there in the marketplace for the roles that are available. So taking our lead from a couple of things. First of all, taking the lead from professional style apprenticeships in the UK, of which CIMA's one, but also the proliferation of skills-based training in white-collar occupations like software development, tech. We thought, what about a way to just challenge the market to think differently about hiring some of their future talent? For example, if we could create a program to support people go to high school graduates or community college, or think about employees in your organization that might seek a career in finance but are not technically skilled. VEX, a more diverse and inclusive workforce. So what we did is we looked into registering our CGMA Finance Leadership Programme as a registered apprenticeship with the Department of Labour. And we actually did that. We registered it and got it approved at the beginning of this year, which enables us to create a support framework for organizations to think about hiring a wider pool of inclusive talent into their organizations to grow their own. And the stats say that for that type of thing, not only do you get a better loyalty, you get a better retention, and you get a parity of skill sets at the same sort of demographic age. So this is a very, very important strategy for us in the United States to be able to help companies source the right blend of talent moving forward. And indeed, I was up in Baltimore, Maryland, a short hop from where I am down here in North Carolina, and the Maryland government have actually given AICPA a grant of $125,000 to fund up to 25 apprenticeship places for employers in the state of Maryland. This is a huge part of the landscape, and it's really, really great to see that there's initial traction taking place.
Yeah, and the apprenticeship model in the UK, just by way of comparison, has been hugely successful. So you're getting a completely diverse range of people joining it from different backgrounds, leading to different perspectives. And also, as you say, you're getting a lot of young talent that may not have considered accounting or finance or business as a career path. So it's been a really successful way to bring new skills and new people into the business that we may have missed. So great to hear that's going well in the US, and hopefully we can replicate the Baltimore and Maryland experience across other states. Barry, fantastic. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up. I'd like to thank Barry for his insight into what's going on in the US regarding skill sets, future of finance, and how FLP is an enabler for this. Been very, very interesting. There's plenty more to explore about this topic, so you can connect with Barry, myself, and you'll find other information that's relevant. Just click on the episode's info icon in the podcast app on your smartphone or tablet, or open the episode in your computer's web browser. You'll find everything right there. For more information on FLP, go to enroll.cgma.org. Thanks again for listening. If you know a friend or colleague who would find this information useful, feel free to share it with your network on the sharing button on the podcast app. That's it for now. Keep an ear out for the next episode, which will be available in 2 weeks. From myself, Kevin, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
This podcast is designed to provide illustrative information with respect to the subject matter covered, and does not represent an official opinion or position of the AICPA or AICPA.org. It is provided with the understanding that the AICPA and AICPA.org are not engaged in offering legal, accounting, or other professional service. If such advice or expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional person should be sought. The AICPA and AICPA.org make no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to, and assume no responsibility for, the content or application of the material contained herein, and especially disclaim all liability for any damages arising out of the use of, reference to, or reliance on such material.